Democrats are optimistic that a blue wave could hand them control of the House this fall, but a growing number of Democratic candidates are already anxious about the prospect of giving the Speaker's gavel back to the party's longtime leader, Nancy Pelosi. According to a new NBC News survey here, more than 50 Democrats running for the House say they will not support Pelosi for Speaker. That includes 9 who are already members of Congress, 9 incumbents. The source of the problem could be ads like these that are running in races across the country.
With Pelosi as Speaker, everything we fought for will come undone.
A vote for Paul Davis is a vote for Nancy Pelosi. That's too risky.
After lying the whole campaign, dishonest Danny O'Connor now admits he'd vote for Pelosi.
McCall for Congress, Pelosi for Speaker.
Now, Pelosi has served as the top Democrat in the House for nearly 16 years, helping Democrats win back the majority in 2006. That made her the first woman to become the Speaker of the House. Late today, President Trump wrote on Twitter, "Democrats, please do not distance yourselves from Nancy Pelosi. She is a wonderful person whose ideas and policies may be bad, but who should definitely be given a fourth chance." Joined now by the Hardball Roundtable, Evan Siegfried is a Republican strategist, Tara Dowdell, a Democratic strategist, and Beth Phui, senior politics editor for NBC News and MSNBC. Tara, we're looking at a scenario where if the Democrats get back the House, they may not have much of a margin for error in terms of their majority, the size of their majority. I mean, we'll see. There could be a gigantic wave here. But when you start talking about 9 incumbents and dozens of candidates, a lot of whom are probably going to get elected and come to Congress, can Nancy Pelosi get elected Democratic leader by this Democratic Party?
Well, I mean, that remains to be seen. But one of the things that I think I'm concerned with the Democratic Party is that Democrats should not fall into this trap that Republicans are setting for them around Nancy Pelosi. Republicans want Democrats talking about Nancy Pelosi. This is a perennial strategy that they run every 2 years. I call it the attack Nancy Pelosi to distract from the issue strategy. When Democrats are talking on the issues, speaking about the issues, particularly the local issues that matter in the districts where they're running, and the more national issues, they win. When they fall into the frame that Republicans set up, they risk not winning. So I think that it's important that if I were advising these Democrats, I would tell them to call this strategy out for what it is. It's about distracting from the issues. It's about distracting from the corruption that's happening in the Trump administration. And it's about making it the argument about Nancy Pelosi and putting her on the ballot and not to fall into that trap.
And there are some Democrats who are out there making that case, Beth. But again, these numbers, you've got a lot of Democrats who are running in Republican-friendly districts, and this seems like sort of an inoculation strategy. On the other hand, you've got folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, certainly on the left side of the party in a very safe district. She's not committing to anything either. It does make me wonder. I know we had, there was Tea Party sort of uprising against John Boehner. He had a close call on the House floor a couple years ago. I'm looking at numbers here I haven't seen with a party leader in a long time, though.
Well, but she's been the leader for such a long time. I mean, let's face it. She has been a very effective, good leader for many, many years. But at this point, perhaps it is time that she move along. And I hate what I see as sexist attacks on her, but I really don't think at this point the folks who are distancing themselves are doing so because they feel like she's a woman, she's an older woman, she should go away, she should shut up. That's sort of a straw man, and I don't think that's what's going on here. Fact is, she's been in power at the top of that party for so long. She's held onto it with this iron grip. Why not step aside and let younger people, new people come in and try it out, see how they do?
So Crowley, Joe Crowley in New York was supposed to be, hey, if Pelosi steps aside, Hoyer's too old, it won't be him. Clyburn's too old. A lot of people thought Crowley. Now he's gone. Who would it be?
It would have to be a whole new generation of people. I mean, people are talking about Joe Kennedy from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton from Massachusetts. It's going to be sort of a fight, no question about it. And maybe that's right. Maybe there aren't people automatically ready to take over. But that, again, is a consequence of her sitting there for so long, just hanging on to that power with no regard for bringing up these younger members.
And Evan, we've seen this a couple times now in these special elections. Saw it in Pennsylvania, saw it again in Ohio recently. Republicans try out a lot of different messages in these contested congressional races. They try taxes, they try some culture war. They end up on Nancy Pelosi. Is it a strong strategy for Republicans to run on this year, or does it represent the absence of any other strategy?
It fires up our base, and Nancy Pelosi is prone to gaffes. As much as I respect her from a position of being able to keep a caucus together, which we sorely need in the Republican side, especially with the Freedom Caucus, but she comes out and says things like, $1,000 to an American family is just crumbs. That sounds like out of touch. But her really stunning gaffe was when President Trump attacked MS-13, which is actually a violent and vicious gang, so much so that when Loretta Lynch was the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, she went after them with fury, indicting them on everything that they could, and she wanted them out of the country. But she said they're people too when President Trump was doing that. Gaffes like that can lead to follow-up questions. If you're a candidate who says, either maybe, I don't know, or yes, I'd support her. Okay, well, she says that she seems to be siding with MS-13. It opens up a whole new can of worms. It's a very smart strategy for us when we're facing significant headwinds. And Nancy Pelosi can be the person to end this for everybody. All she has to do is have a press conference and say, this Congress is my last conference as leader of the caucus, but she won't.
I see you shaking your head, but is there a chance that happens, that you get to September or so and you see all these Democrats distancing themselves and there's a call to say, hey, for the good of the party, make this announcement, make sure we get the House here?
Here's the thing. Nancy Pelosi is taken out of context all the time by Republicans. Democrats are accused of siding with everybody under the sun by Republicans. The attacks that Republicans are leveling, they are going to level regardless. If it's not Nancy Pelosi, they will find a new person.
But the question for
it was
Nancy
Barack
Pelosi
Obama. It
Donald
was Hillary
Trump
Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton. It's all. And first of all, it's typically a woman and a person of color, which is another problem. And that's something that Democrats need to push back on as well. The problem is if Democrats are arguing about Nancy Pelosi, they're not talking about the issues. And in these local districts, they need to keep their eyes on the prize, and it's talking to voters about the issues. At the end of the day, voters care about what matters to them. And Democrats have to stay focused on that, laser focused on that. And also, I just want to make another point. You know, Denny Hastert, the Speaker of the House under the Republicans, is a child molester. And so Republicans are going after Nancy Pelosi. Democrats need to hit harder also when they're under attack in these situations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the Republicans, to give some benefit of the doubt here, the Hastert thing didn't come out until years later.
But Nancy Pelosi is a punching bag.
But here's the thing. Nancy Pelosi gives gifts to us when she does say things like that. It wasn't taken out of context when she was asked, do you agree with President Trump that MS-13 are animals? She said, they're human beings too. That is a really stupid move. But the thing is, and I agree with Tara, Democrats should focus on the issues. You know what the two things they should focus on? Health care, because that's going to be the biggest issue. And the second biggest issue, Democrats would be smart if they ceded that we're in a great economy. But then they follow it up and ask a question, is this economy working for you? And I bet you more voters will say, no, it's not. I'm not feeling the good things here. Don't let Nancy Pelosi become an issue. Don't even respond. And stick to the issues. You'd do much better.
It's interesting because in terms of Republican strategy here, Evan, we've had you on a number of times, and I know you're very critical of Donald Trump, and you seem down on him, and I'm listening to you get going on Nancy Pelosi, and I think you're sort of answering my question about in terms of Republicans finding a unifying message. I suddenly see Red Bull to our base. It seems to.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.